I am Professor Shwinda Kaur Popli, Professor in the Department of Social Work, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. Today I will be taking a lecture on Universal and Culturally Relevant Perspectives, International Statements on Professionalism. In this lecture, we will look at the universal and culturally relevant perspectives of social work profession and international statements of professionalism. We will be looking at the perspectives of social work from the universal and cultural relevance. After completing this lecture, the learner will be able to understand lack of unified global identity in social work, IFSW's definition emphasizing empowerment and justice, social work grounded in values, theory, and diverse practice, globalization challenges, social work's mission and impact. Whether social work can be called a fully developed unified profession remains a debatable even in this day. Across international boundaries, persistent divisions among countries identified as the North, so-called developed countries, or the South, developing countries, continue to promote differences in the identities and activities of those working in the field. In some settings, the emphasis historically influenced by North American and Western European developments is on intervening with individuals or small groups, and less on large scale environmental forces. In others, more typically, though not universally, in the South, the emphasis may be reversed. For social workers, finding the right balance between those objectives remain a high priority. As Hare in 2004 observed, reciprocal influences of the individual and the environment represent powerful forces to be considered in all social work interventions. According to him, people are affected by their environments. He wrote, whether a polluted river, repressive social policies, a school or children institution, the workplace or a family, and people also have the capacity to change their environments. Indeed, empowering them to do so is also part of social work. At its journal meeting in Montreal, Canada, in 2000, the International Federation of Social Workers, IFSW, concluded a 6-year process by voting to approve a new international definition of social work. The definition identified key values of the profession, defining its core activities and acknowledging the importance of comprehensive theories built on appreciation of human behavior in the social environment, HBSE. According to Hare 2004, the definition promotes interventions with individuals as they interact with their surrounding on human, social, and physical levels, and encourages the empowerment and liberation of people as valuable social work processes. Citing the contribution of Brazilian educator Paulo Freire, social workers were encouraged to learn how to recognize social, political, and economic contradictions within the social order and to take action against oppression accordingly. This meant embracing a challenge to assess problems broadly, respect individual and cultural diversity, and develop responses that incorporated universal principles while adapting wherever appropriate to local and cultural priorities. Because the IFS definition and its language were so carefully drafted by the International Task Force, it is presented to its entirety here. A social work profession promotes a social change, problem solving in human relationships, and the empowerment and liberation of people to enhance well being. Utilizing theories of human behavior and social systems, social work intervenes at the points where people interact with their environments. Principles of human rights and social justice are fundamental to social work. Social work, in its various forms, addresses the multiple complex transactions between people and their environments. Its mission is to enable all people to develop their full potential, enrich their lives, and prevent dysfunction. Basically, social work works with people and their environment, making them help to develop their potentials and prevent dysfunction. Professional social work is focused on problem solving and change. As such, social workers are change agents in society and in the lives of individuals, families, and the communities they serve. Basically, they tend to bring about change in the lives of people, whether it's individuals, whether it's families, or whether it's communities at large. Social work is an interrelated system of values, theory, and practice. Looking at the values, we can say that social work grew out of humanitarian and democratic ideas, and its values are based on respect for the equality, worth, and dignity of all people. Social work is basically based on various values. Since its beginning, over the century ago, social work practice has focused on meeting human needs and developing human potential. Human rights, social justice, and human needs are basis for social work action. In solidarity with those who are disadvantaged, the profession strives to alleviate poverty and to liberate vulnerable and oppressed people in order to promote social inclusion. There is a need to include people who are marginalized, who are oppressed, and there is a need for liberating them. Social work values are embodied in the profession's national and international code of ethics. Social work is also based on theory. Social work bases its methodology on a systemic body of evidence based knowledge derived from research and practice evaluation, including local and indigenous knowledge specific to its content. Social work is not based on mere theory, it is based on evidence based knowledge. Which comes from field, which comes from research, which comes from practice evaluations, and also the local and indigenous knowledges which are available around. It recognizes the complexity of interactions between human beings and their environment. It also recognizes the capacity of people both to be affected by and to alter the multiple influences upon them, including psychosocial factors. So it recognizes the capacity of people who are going to be affected or who are going to be altered by the interactions. Social work profession draws on theories of human development behavior. It also banks upon social systems to analyze complex situations and to facilitate individual, organizational, social, and cultural changes. It basically is based on bringing about changes at the individual level, at the organizational level, in the societal and cultural values. Practice is another area the social work addresses. Social work addresses the barriers, inequalities, and just injustices that exist in society. It responds to crises and emergencies as well as to everyday personal and social problems. Social work looks at personal problems, social problems, various crises and emergencies that people face in day to day life or in the society. Social work utilizes a variety of skills, techniques, and activities consistent with its holistic focus on persons and their environment. It not only uses skills, it uses techniques, activities, and various other ways to focus on the persons and changing their environments. Social work interventions range from primarily person focused psychosocial processes to involvement in social policy, planning, and development. Social work not only works in field, it also works on social policy, planning, and development. Interventions also include agency administration, community organization, and engaging in social and political action to impact social policy and economic development. To support social justice, two key principles are highlighted. Number one is solidarity. Solidarity, which means showing empathy and actively standing with those who suffer, defending their rights in both words and actions. Basically, standing with vulnerable people like elderly, women, children, marginalized. So, it is showing empathy and actively standing with them. Another principle is social inclusion, which includes opposing any system or practice that excludes certain groups from the access to resources, rights, or opportunities, preventing their marginalization. So basically, trying to bring in the groups which are oppressed or which are being kept on a bay, or who do not have access to resources, who are unable to exercise their rights or opportunities, and preventing their marginalization. Achieving social work ambitious goal is challenging. Globalization has created interconnected systems, pushing social workers to understand how policies in one region affect people worldwide. David J. N. Jones of IFSW emphasizes that social work must remain rooted in humanitarian values and function globally to address both local and international needs. We understand that social globalization has created interconnections, but it is important that social work remains rooted in its humanitarian values. It remains, even if it functions globally, it needs to address local and international needs, both together. David Drucker questions whether social work truly centers around the needs of the poor and excluded as it claims. He criticizes the profession for offering aligning with Western culture norms and market-driven systems rather than challenging structural inequalities. Social workers' direct contact with poverty, according to Drucker, is too often through a kind of negative identification passed along by the larger society. He questions that whether social work truly centers around the needs of the poor and excluded. Basically, he criticizes the Western cultural norms and market-driven systems to which we are getting inclined towards too. More often than not, he writes, social workers find themselves valued and identified with, and their services funded as inadequately as the poor themselves. Social workers become marginalized, professional, outcast, expandable too. Social workers themselves find themselves as marginalized. Social work is not recognized. So, more often than not, he says that social workers find themselves valued and identified with poor themselves. Following a multi-country study, Thailand, South Korea, Hong Kong, Pakistan, the Philippines, and Burma, he concluded that these processes could have potential advantages when they serve to make social workers more alert and sensitive to systemic problems. Useful action could follow if the reporting of such issues and incorporation of these into policy and planning become a normal part of social workers' interventions. So, social workers need to report the issues and try to incorporate the issues in the policy and planning. To sum up, I may say that globally, social work continues to face challenges in being recognized as a unified profession. The lack of clarity is especially evident across countries where diverse practices and interpretations of social work exist. Many social workers argue that despite cultural and regional differences, the profession is united by shared values and ethics. As emphasized by the International Federation of Social Workers, IFSW, the universal goal of social work remains consistent across nations to enhance global well being. Thank you.